Well, look, here's what I've learned, and in big part from you. You can look at these polls, and as you get closer to Election Day, you got to be more and more careful about the sample. What they say matters to them is usually pretty close to spot on. Who they're going to vote for is completely randomized by turnout and locality. So really, it's going to be who can get more of their voters out, and it's going to be about what they're afraid of. And right now, the GOP has in its hands the most powerful issue, which is the economy. Wouldn't be unlike it for history for a first-term president to take a beating in the midterms. The question is, do they lose the Senate as well? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's up for grabs. I can't call it. I can't call the Senate. Charlie Cook can't call it. I see people trying to call it, but so many factors in so many different races. And remember this, some of the candidates that the Republicans have put off are not the best ones. I say that not because I'm against them personally, but because we have seen this before.
And part of the reason, hold on, Sam.
Remember the candidates?
Hold on, Sam. Part of the reason some of their candidates are more fringe than they may like is because Democrats were backing some of those candidates in primaries to give themselves weaker opposition in generals. You know, we can't give them a complete pass.
It
is one of the biggest dirty types of politics I've seen in recent history, backing more extreme members of the other party and at the same time saying you're better. That is really too much. But last point to you, go ahead.
Well, dirty tricks, yes, exactly right. I mean, they found a way to try to point out that if you ran against one of these fringe candidates who was a Trumpster, let's say, in a state that a lot of independents would come out for, and they didn't like that person, if Donald Trump were on the ticket, maybe so, but not that person. But if you want to talk about dirty tricks, does the name Roger Ailes and Lee Atwater mean anything to you? 1988? Do you recall?
The Lords of Folderol.
Those two guys. Yes, not just those two guys, but dirty tricks in politics. I will agree with you if what you're saying is it has been brought to a new height these days that not been seen before, but it's always been there.
Absolutely.
And the Democrats have suffered to some extent because they don't fight back. Mike Dukakis came out of his convention 18 points ahead of George Herbert Walker Bush, the vice president. In 3 weeks, he was down and never recovered because he and his good friend, Governor Cuomo of New York, said the American public will never believe this junk he's saying about you, Mike. Come on, just let's talk about the issues. Mike talked about the issues. He wasn't president of the United States. I don't mean to be cynical about it completely, but we have a new factor here. You haven't mentioned it yet, I don't think, and that is the deniers of the 2020 election who are out there, not only counting votes, but also running. Some of the fringe candidates, in normal times when I was working the business, would not have existed.
Right.
There wouldn't have been someone who won the primary. And if they won the primary, they were certainly, as we saw when the Tea Party put up its people, they'd go down the drain.
I hear you.
But now, look at Arizona. Look at some of the states in which this person might not have had a chance 10 years ago.
Now they're in the hunt. Now they're in the hunt.
Is a real contender.
We're definitely at an inflection point. We've been here before, but we haven't been as low on the circles of hell as we are right now. The question is, can we ascend back up to a better tomorrow? And we'll see. Sam Donaldson, I know you're an optimist. So am I. I learned at you, and I look forward to having you again. Take care.
It's on the way to being life. Be an optimist.
I'll do it.